there is an expectation that you're going to apply for a job with a written application, right? But I realized that everybody else was doing it. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to send video applications instead. And so I started creating video applications for those gigs. And for every single client that I got on Upwork and other freelance platforms, they mentioned my video. They said, oh, that's super cool that you send a video instead because everybody else sends written applications. So that thing of the video, of using video instead of written content, I think that helped me stand out in the beginning.
Hi, my name is Ronan Kennedy and I'm a career coach and podcast host. I'm interviewing people from various different careers, industries and backgrounds to find out what they do, how they got into it and what they like or dislike about their roles. So whether you're a seasoned professional looking for some inspiration or whether you're a new grad looking for some ideas and options, this podcast has something for you. So join us every week as we delve into the world of work, share personal professional development tips and uncover the secrets to a fulfilling career. Today I'm speaking to Thalita Milan, who's very kindly come over to chat to us. Thanks so much for popping in. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for the invite. I'm really enjoying being here. And yeah, that's
Excellent.
going to be awesome.
So can you, let's get straight into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your career so far?
Sure, of course. So I've been working in digital marketing since 2012. I spent most of my career working in-house for marketing teams, and tech startups, tech businesses in general. So when we decided to move to Portugal, this was like 6 months before COVID started. Tony, my partner and I, we moved to Portugal together. I arrived here, started looking for a job. I almost ended up starting at a new job when COVID hit and changed everything for me. So in that period, I became a freelancer, started working as a marketing consultant. And now more recently, I started working with online courses. So my journey is a bit of different. I've always worked with marketing, but in 3 different capacities. So first as a full-time employee at businesses, and then as a consultant, and then as a course creator.
And were you always doing digital marketing, or were you doing kind of more traditional marketing as well?
Always digital marketing.
Okay.
Yeah, I started out as working as a generalist, so marketing generalist. Typically in small businesses, you need someone to do the marketing, like social media, SEO, content, email, and whatnot. But throughout my career, I ended up specializing in a field called marketing automation, which is basically to use software to automate marketing tasks. For instance, when you go to a website and you fill out a contact us form, you typically receive a reply saying, "Thank you for contacting us. We'll be in touch shortly," or something like that. Yeah. So that's marketing automation in action, is to use software to automate these tasks that businesses need to have, on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's an efficiency, right?
Yeah, it's an efficiency, exactly. So businesses go for marketing automation when they need to be more efficient about their processes, email, communications, and stuff like that. And inside of marketing automation, I specialize in a specific platform called HubSpot. So it's like niche of a niche of a niche.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all to explain that more recently I started, working as a HubSpot consultant. So
does marketing automation jobs inside HubSpot, the CRM platform, the client relationship management platform?
Yes, as crazy as it sounds,
so
yes.
That's a super niche.
And it is, right? It is. And it almost happened by accident, where I started out working with HubSpot at a startup in Sydney. This was in 2017. And they came to me and they said, "Thalita, we need you to figure out this HubSpot thing." And I logged in and I looked at it and I was like, "Oh, okay, where do I even start?
No, what is all of this?"
All this, like this whole, lot of stuff to look at. And with time, I started becoming more familiar with HubSpot. And this is all to say that when I became a freelancer, when I decided to go, freelancing full time, I leveraged that skill, and that's how I started offering.
Did you learn that yourself?
Yes, I've learned that myself. Okay. I did a lot of courses on the topic as well. Okay. And I'm talking about a world before COVID, right? Where you still had like in-person meetups and conferences and a lot going on. So I managed to get a lot of that in-person experience for businesses using HubSpot. But then COVID hit. And of course, at the time it was, I didn't really have any of that. So I ended up working, learning what I do partially from these experiences, and also the other half would probably be self-learning.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
very good, very good. So then you once you got that HubSpot kind of experience and
Mhm.
knowledge, then you thought, okay, well, I could do this as a self-employed consultant.
Exactly. So the journey, the whole journey was a little bit more emotional than you're
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
than you're describing it. But so, this was 6 months before COVID started. I was looking for a job, and
Right.
I applied at many different companies here in Lisbon, and I was just about to start a new job, just about to start a new role. Super cool company, was a startup incubator. COVID hit. They didn't go ahead with it, and they were like, Talita, it's not happening. As a matter of fact, we don't know what we're doing with this whole pandemic thing. And so I realized that, going for job interviews and searching for a job locally wouldn't be too much of an opportunity at that point. So
Mm,
I thought, why not just try to work freelance, for the first time? And I'm like, yeah, created an account on Upwork and went for it. And it
wow.
was, it was a bit, yeah.
Was that because you felt that that was like a dream you had, or let's say a goal you had, or was it more like I just don't really know if the opportunities are gonna match what I want?
That was more like I wanted the flexibility aspect of it.
Okay.
I wanted the fact that, as a freelancer, of course, you do your own time schedule, right? So you don't really have a 9 to 6. Oh, you have client meetings and everything, but it's not as static as, of course, when you work full time for a company. I wanted that, but I also wanted something a little bit stable, in
Mm,
terms of income and everything. So when I created my first freelance account, I really didn't know what to do with it, because it's a whole different set of skills, right? When you work full time for a business, you have a manager, you have a team, there's a lot of communication. When you're by yourself, you have to sell yourself, you have to sell your
yeah.
personal branding, and it's a completely different world. So I had to learn all of that by myself, and it started working out as I went more and more niche.
Yeah.
So I in the beginning I was positioning myself as a marketing specialist, but when you go generalist, you're competing with so many people.
Right.
So I decided to go niche, and that was when things started happening for me.
Mm,
And positioned myself as a HubSpot expert. So
very cool. Very
found
cool.
gigs on the field. That was
On
cool.
Upwork. Can I ask
Yeah.
you the first day or the first morning when you sat down and said, okay, today I'm a freelance consultant
Oh yeah.
and I'm a marketer, and you see
Oh my
your
god.
partner going off to work or, starting his work. How are you feeling?
Completely lost. Completely lost, because this is it. I didn't really know how to communicate with a client, right?
Yep.
I had in my mind how to communicate with a boss, how to communicate with a coworker, but
Mm,
talking to a client is a completely different thing, because they have another set of expectations that a manager or a coworker has. And I really didn't know how to deal with that. So in the
mm,
beginning, I was still behaving a lot like a full-time employee working at a business. And then with time I started learning, oh, that's not how it works. I have to set limits about how many hours I put into a project on a weekly basis and stuff. So this is the kind of stuff that I started learning with time. It's something that I totally didn't know before. And it's just, I went for it, and somehow with
yeah.
lots of ups and downs, but I ended up learning.
You almost have to learn that the hard way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You have to learn the hard way. I mean, if you have mentorship, if you have support of some sort, it's great. But at the time, again, we were in the middle of a pandemic. I wouldn't really like reach out to people and say, "Let me have a coffee, and can you tell
Yeah.
me about how it is to work as a freelancer?"
Yeah.
Because people were like, people were worried about COVID. So
Yeah. Well, that's why this conversation is so good, because other people can learn from your
yeah, I
experiences.
hope to bring something to the table. And yeah,
Well,
for
what do you
sure.
think were the main things you learned from, okay, I'm communicating with a boss and just trying to, like, let's say, satisfy their
Yeah.
goals or whatever it is, compared to working with a client where you have to set boundaries?
Mhm.
What do you think were the main things you learned in that process?
Yeah. Well, so in terms of working as a freelancer, definitely, having to be flexible. When you work at a business 9 to 6, you have there's a specific way that you do things, right? So everything follows a specific standard, and you know what you have to do when you get to the office. And there's, expectations, goals at the end of the month, OKRs, and all that kind of stuff. And when you go freelance, you're like, well, I don't have to report my accomplishments to anyone, because at the end of the day, it's just me, right?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you're by yourself, so you cannot really exchange ideas with someone else. So it's really having to make yourself become a business in itself. You're your own salesperson. You're your marketing person. So
Your operations, your
operations, exactly. CEO, right? And
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
so you're the one doing everything. It's a completely change of mindset.
yeah.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot in that journey for
Yeah,
sure.
it's a huge change of mindset, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to go, okay, well, I'm doing administration now. Then after that, I'll do operations. But then you
Hmm.
have to think, where am I going? So now I have to do some strategy,
Yeah.
and then, well, where's the money come? So I now have to work with the clients and make sure they're
Exactly.
happy with what's going on.
Yeah.
So can I ask you, how did you find? Sorry, you went in when you started on Upwork.
Hmm.
Not everyone will know Upwork, but Upwork.com is a freelancing website, right?
Yes.
Where you
Yes.
can both
Exactly.
pitch for work
Yeah.
and be headhunted for work,
For
right?
sure. Yeah. Freelance platform.
Um,
Mhm.
so was that the only place you went to present yourself and to sell yourself?
No, so the cool thing about it is that because I was working with HubSpot, which was something that I already had experience with, I was
Okay,
able to leverage some of my old contacts from previous jobs. So that
right.
was, amazing. I was super grateful for that network. Um, I started out on Upwork, but once you get your first gig and your second and your third, people start recommending you to others. So this
Okay,
is what happened to me as well. So I got referrals from many different clients, and I got to a point where I was, I didn't really have to search for work so much, but I had people reaching out to me, and that was a great
that's ideal,
transition
right? That's perfect. That's exactly what you want.
for sure, for sure. Yeah.
I think one of the things, because I've recommended Upwork to a few clients who are thinking, yeah, I want to go remote.
Hmm.
Basically, exactly what you're saying. I want to have more control over my time.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do the same level of work. But one of the big concerns they have is they feel these platforms like Upwork, where you just go for projects, they feel that they're going to be lower quality
Yeah.
or lower paid, or basically lower value. The client feels is lower value there. It's more transactional.
Yeah.
Is that your experience, or yes and no, depending?
Again, it depends a lot on what you're going for. So when I was positioning myself as a generalist,
Yeah.
I was competing with so many people that were doing the exact same thing.
Right.
When I went niche and I said, this is my expertise, I'm a HubSpot expert, my competition was lower. So I didn't really have to compete with so many other candidates. And I put a lot of effort into finding ways to stand out. So I'll give you one example. On Upwork and other freelance platforms, there is an expectation that you're going to apply for a job with a written application, right? You're going to write a text and send a text and, cover letter type of thing. But I realized that everybody else was doing it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to send video applications instead. And so I started creating video applications for those gigs. And for every single client that I got on Upwork and other freelance platforms, they mentioned my video in their reply. They said, "Oh, that's super cool that you send a video instead, because everybody else sends written applications, and you cannot have an idea about the person and everything." So that thing of the video, of using video instead of written content, I think that helped me stand out in the beginning. And I was always trying to find ways for leveraging my strength
Yep.
to get to that point. I think it's easy when you're doing a transition. It's easy to fall into this trap of doing what everybody else is doing and following advice you see online. But at the end of the day, you know what you're good at,
Yeah.
and that's what you should, I think, leverage.
And then focus on that. But
Yeah.
also the video allows you to start building the relationship, right? Because they get to know you compared to everybody else who's pitching or presenting.
For sure, for sure. That's exactly that. So they see your face, they see how you communicate. There is a lot of concern around, people's level of English as well, right? Because
Ah,
some people sometimes they apply for jobs, but they are not that fluent yet, and so for the client, it's a concern. It varies by case, but so they can see that you can communicate. They can see your face, right? They have a feeling of who you are as a
yeah.
person, and so that helps a lot, I think, with a video application. So I recommend everybody, if you're going into freelance, go for video applications, because
I love that.
everybody's writing applications, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and as a recruiter, or a business owner hiring a freelancer, they go through so many applications
Yeah.
every day. They have so much to read. They are tired. They
Yeah.
don't want to waste
100% with you. 100% with you. Like you read 100 applications, one of them said video application in the link. Which one are you going to look at first?
Of course. And you're curious, right?
You're
Oh,
curious.
someone sent a video. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
And if you put their name in there or you refer to something that they've asked for,
Yeah.
double points.
even better. Yeah,
Right.
even better.
So you started on Upwork by leveraging by going from generalist, but then
Mhm.
to by HubSpot specialist. That works better.
Yeah.
And then from there, is that what you stick with now, or do you also offer other things?
No, so then I did a second transition,
Oh, the
which
plot
is
thickens.
I know. I started working as a course creator. So you know how during COVID we all had a lot of free time, right?
Lots of free
And
time.
a lot of free time. And at one point I was doing like watercolor painting, and I quickly realized that I was just not talented at that,
Oh my
and or
god.
any type of handicraft.
I, I bought
So
herbs that I was planning on growing. So
I
yeah.
know people are just doing so many random things, but either way, I at the time I was actually working with a client who he had an agency, and one of his main target audiences was course creators.
Mhm.
So he was working a lot with course creators, and because of this job, I was working with communicating with course creators a lot. And I remember at the time I was like, what? Like people make money with online courses? What do you even mean? Like how do they do that? And I started getting into this world of online courses, and I said, you know what? It's COVID. I have so much free time. I'm tired of like embroidery or whatever it is what I was
Yeah.
doing. Let me just create my first course. And so I bought a tripod on Amazon, and I ended up creating a short course I published on Udemy Academy. And that was the beginning of a passion, which is online courses. And so,
Wow.
actually, nowadays I'm much more, dedicated to online courses rather than client work in that classical
Yeah.
way of of
Very
freelancing.
cool. So that one tripod led to this passion
I
of,
know.
of course creation.
Yeah, yeah.
So what are you teaching?
I teach HubSpot as
HubSpot,
well.
right?
I know.
So it all circles back to that one opportunity you
It
got in
goes
Australia, right?
exactly. It
Very
goes
cool.
back to that. I realized that there was a need in the market for really hands-on how to
Mm,
tutorials on how to use HubSpot. It's actually funny to say this. So HubSpot themselves, they have an online university,
yeah.
but their courses still, they're changing this now, but their courses are still they go a little bit into the theory of things. So the framework of inbound marketing and stuff like that. And I actually had a client at the time tell me, Talita, look, um, like I don't find resources for the how to's. Like, how do you upload a list? How do you create
Yeah.
an email? How do you do the basics? Right. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's what I'm doing. So I created courses on HubSpot. I'm now at my 11th course.
Wow.
Not all of them are about HubSpot. Most of them are. I also teach about marketing automation, sales funnels, and related topics, automation in general, marketing and tech. But yeah, so
Very cool.
yeah,
So
that's
there's tons of writing in that then as well, right? Or do you write all the scripts out, or how does that work? You just kind of share your screen and start speaking and
pretty much most of my courses are like this. So I'll share screen and I'll be like, this is how you upload a list into
right.
HubSpot. You'll click here and then you'll do this and then you'll do that. And that's pretty much it. I use Loom for
Yep.
recording my screen, and I have a webcam attached to it as well. Now, actually, from this year onwards, I will start creating different types of courses that are a little bit more, how can I explain? There's a talking head video, you're
Yep.
explaining something, there are animations and stuff. So I'll have one be launched next week. It's gonna go live on Coursera, which is pretty cool, and that's the style that we are going for. So it's a bit more like, think of it as a YouTube video together
Yeah.
with a tutorial, so to
Yeah.
say. So
I feel I have to ask you about the YouTube versus Coursera and Udemy and all the other platforms. Like,
mhm,
I think a lot of people go to YouTube hoping to get stuff for free.
yeah,
So then how do you kind of differentiate yourself and say, well, there's tons more value over here?
yeah. I use YouTube as sort of a lead generation
Yeah.
tool where I'll put a little bit of my work there. I have some tutorials there and have some videos where I talk about just how to become a marketing automation specialist and stuff like that. But then at the end of the video, I say, yeah, I have a course on the topic. By the way, if you're
Okay.
interested, go check out, because you have to, be able to monetize most of your value, right? If you're
Yeah.
giving out everything for free, then you have to pay rent
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
you have
right?
to, you have
So
to get some reward for all your effort and
ex-
dedication, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. You mentioned the really important word there in marketing, which is funnel.
hmm
How do you explain funnel to someone who's maybe they think of funnel as something totally different? What is a marketing funnel?
Yeah. So we will talk about funnels in a way that it describes the journey that someone goes through, all the way from that first moment when they find out about your brand to the end when they make a purchase and after, right? So when I'm teaching people how to work with funnels, usually we go for that very first step, right? How does someone become aware of your brand? And then how do you capture their interest? And then from there, how do you encourage them to consider becoming a customer? How do they become a customer, and how do you retain that
Mm.
customer? So it's really that step-by-step journey that someone goes through, all the way from when they first get to know about you until the end, right? Where they are a happy, loyal customer, so to
Yeah.
say. That's a funnel in a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah, very good. So
Yeah.
the complete customer journey.
Complete customer journey,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
often it's, well, this is, in this case, it's digital, right?
Yes, exactly. So there is a lot. There is marketing automation is there to support a funnel, in simple words.
Mm.
So the goal of marketing automation is to enable you to automate processes that will make people go from A to B, from B to C, from C to D, and so on and so on.
Mm.
So that's where the technology aspect of the thing comes in. You're automating tasks and processes to make people go through that journey in a more seamless way, and that you increase your conversions.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
That's great. So you can teach them about the funnel, but also they're in your funnel at the same time,
I
right?
know I have my own funnel as well.
Yeah, of course, right? You have
Yeah.
to. So I think it's interesting how you identified this need for HubSpot in the company in
Mhm.
Australia,
Mhm.
and then by you solving that initial problem has led to all these other opportunities, because that continued to be a problem for other
Other
people.
people.
Whereas if you just said, "Oh, I'm not interested in that," you wouldn't have had all these extra opportunities. So it's interesting. Sometimes the obstacle is actually a great pathway forward.
It is. It is. And I remember, I clearly remember this feeling of the job in Australia, where I still remember the day when she sat down with me and she said, "Talita, learn this HubSpot thing." And I remember logging into it and thinking, what a job. Like, why did I sign up to this?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what am
yeah,
I doing? And that is exactly what that obstacle is exactly what led me to where I am now, with
yeah.
the things that I'm sharing, the things that I'm teaching,
And
and
this
all this.
self-employment opportunity that you have, and
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's a scalable business, right? You can create more courses and you can continue to sell them.
exactly. Yeah.
Do you feel that if somebody was thinking about this line of work, that it takes time? It takes quite a time to actually build a course and to have it selling, and to build enough courses and sell enough to, let's say, replace their income. Or how do you kind of think about that? Because when
Yeah.
people start on a self-employment journey, the first, like, and I think it was your concern as well,
Mhm.
it's like stability, like income stability, obviously super important, right? We
For
all need to pay
sure.
rent.
For sure. I think the main thing is you really have to be patient with yourself in any transition period of your
Mm.
life, right? So when I went from full time to freelance, and also when I went from freelancer to course creator, I fell into this trap of being really impatient about it and
Mm.
thinking, where are the results? Where are the results? And the results, they take time to come. It's really a difficult period, but it doesn't last forever. That's
Yeah.
what it's important to remember. So when in that transition between working in that transition from going from full-time to freelance, there was, as you said, a lot of instability in financial ways, and of course, I didn't really know how to sell my
Yeah,
services,
you're
and so
figuring everything out,
figured
right?
everything out. So it was difficult, but it takes time for you to get efficient at it. So it's not only about learning how to do that new thing. It's really how to do that new thing in an efficient way.
Mm.
Another example I can give you. So I started creating online courses, and in the beginning, I would take so much time to create one course only. But internet is fast, is all about speed. And so you don't want to spend so much time in one course only when you can create, you know, potentially 5 courses in a much faster speed, and sell them in a different price point. So it took me time to become efficient at creating and selling online
Mm.
courses. And it also took me time to become efficient at finding gigs, positioning myself as an expert in that field, and talking to clients and establishing pricing strategies and stuff like that. It's a learning
Tons of stuff,
curve.
right?
I know. It's so much. Could write a book, maybe.
Tons of stuff to do, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you could sell a course on how to write a book.
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah.
Do you feel that people are, when they're watching the courses, or they're doing the courses, that they're more interested in bite-sized chunks, or is it longer form content that the audiences are more? Because we got this phenomenon, we've got this trend of TikTok, which is just totally
Yeah.
blowing up, and everything is like seconds, short clips, super engaging. And then you've got these other like podcasts that are like, 3 hours, 4 hours long. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
who's listening that long?
For sure.
Where do you think the online course world is going?
it's going towards a direction of short form content for sure. We can see this from the platforms that we work with. So actually, I didn't mention this before, but there's essentially two types of selling an online course, right? Either you self-host your course, so you have a website, you host your course somewhere in a landing page, a platform or something, but you do your own marketing. I don't work with that type of course as much. I work mostly with marketplace courses.
Mm.
When I say marketplace, I'm referring to Udemy Academy, Skillshare, Open Sesame, Cornerstone, Coursera. These are all
Right.
course marketplaces.
Yeah, like the Amazon of courses.
Exactly like Amazon. So, you go on Amazon, you look for kitchen table, right? So you go on Udemy and you look for a marketing course. It's the exact same concept. It's a marketplace. This is where I'm going more towards. I'm going towards more marketplace courses. And for that, yeah, it's a different way. It's a different way of thinking about what you're selling. So you're just asking me about the size of content, right? So
Yeah.
typically in a self-hosted course, depending on the price as well, you have long form content. You have courses that are really long. Some of them are like, I actually purchased a high ticket course some time ago. It was like 40 hours or something like
Oh,
that
yeah,
of
right.
content. But on Marketplace, people pay less for a course.
Yeah.
And so they are not expecting that much. They're expecting quality, but they are not expecting, a super long
Like
thing.
40
They have-
hours.
Exactly. Like you have to sit down forever and watch that. So there is a certain expectation with marketplace courses that they will be a little bit more straight to the point, right? So there's that.
Or
Yeah.
maybe more niche topics, right? I just
Yeah.
want to learn about this one specific thing.
Yeah.
And the one thing I like about the online courses is compared to like just randomly watching on YouTube is you get this structured,
Yeah.
thoughtful approach by someone who's actually trying to monetize it. They're not
Yeah.
just saying, here's a bunch of random stuff on a YouTube video. Now
Yeah.
you figure out what you want.
Yeah.
Whereas the course is much more organized. I think there's great value in that.
For sure, for sure. When you're creating a course, you have a beginning, you have a medium, and you have an end to it, right? So you have an overall goal that you want to achieve. By the end of this course, I want my students to be able to, let's say, create a sales funnel strategy, to use HubSpot empower themselves to use HubSpot better or something. So there is a goal to it. Now with a YouTube video, it's a bit like, hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to use Canva, and it's a bit like, okay, cool. But there is really not too much of a process.
It's more random. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
When you decide to go for the marketplaces as opposed to hosting on your own site, is that because you want to leverage the audience that's already existing there and their marketing funnels and automation, or is it more, as opposed to you taking 100% of the income and having 100% control of that funnel?
Yeah.
What was the idea?
At the time, the idea was exactly something to do with the audience. So at the time, I didn't really have an audience, right? I wasn't really active on social media that much. I didn't really have an email list or anything. For you to be able to start selling a self-hosted course without an audience is a really, really hard thing to do. That's why sometimes you look at marketing advice online and they're always talking about the fact that first you build an audience and then you sell a course. Well, with marketplaces, you can do the exact opposite of that. So the audience is there. The marketplace is responsible for your marketing. So they will advertise your course on Facebook ads, on LinkedIn ads, on affiliate marketing and other channels. So you don't need an audience to get started on a marketplace. However, because of that, they take a chunk of your course sales. So there is good and that's bad sides to both types of selling courses. I continued creating courses on marketplaces because I see it also as a lead generation tool.
Yeah.
So very often what's going to happen is that people take my course on Udemy, for example. They'll come to my website, they'll sign up to my blog, they'll start receiving my emails, and then they purchase another course that I have, which is a self-hosted course. So I see beyond only that one sale that was maybe a very cheap one.
Yeah.
Right. So we're working with volume. It's not about a high ticket. It's a volume.
But also, I think it can be used to test, right? If you do 10 different courses and let's say number 7 performs way better, then maybe that's the lead for the longer version of that on your self-hosted website.
For sure.
That sort of
Most of
thing.
the instructors that I know who also have courses on marketplaces, that's exactly what they do. So you test the waters on a marketplace and you'll see if there is demand for that.
Yeah.
Once you have that working, up and running, your audience is coming, then you can launch a longer version of that exact same course. People might pay premium to be able to maybe talk to you on live sessions or do coaching with you or.
It's a great idea for somebody getting started. Like they're finishing their job in a month. They say, okay, I'm going to create a course. I'm going to put it on another marketplace.
Yeah.
I have a built-in audience there because that is one of the problems, right? Trying to get an audience from nowhere.
It is difficult. And nowadays, with social media and the amount of content that we have on everything out there,
Yeah.
it's even more competitive. So, of course, you can build an audience. It just takes time. You
Mm.
can go for ads, but still, it's going to take some time for people to start learning about your work and trusting what you do. Now, when you're leveraging a marketplace, someone who is in that mindset of buying a course, they already know what they're going to get out of it. So they are going to enroll to your course. There will be an instructor there. They are trusting in that process. They expect that expertise that you're going to deliver. So there
Yeah.
is really another level of experience that we're talking
Sure.
about. So but yeah, as you said, it's a great way of getting started. So marketplaces can be an entry point
Yeah,
to
a great
potentially
entry point,
longer.
especially if you're starting from zero. You don't have an audience. You don't have social media.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you don't know, or you're not interested in marketing. You just want to deliver the content. That's
Yeah.
another way of thinking
It's a
about it.
completely valuable way of doing this as well. I know a person who, and she told me, she said, I have all these marketplace courses, but the reason why I do this is just so that I can go on a backpacking trip for 6 months and I have
Okay.
that passive income coming. I don't want to worry about, self-hosting anything. All I want is that passive income coming every month. I want to go and do my backpack trips and that's it.
And
It's great.
do those marketplaces, do they promote you, or do they, if someone else who's a little bit flashier comes along, do they just think, oh, okay, yeah, this is the HubSpot person we want to promote instead of that previous one, and they're doing A/B tests themselves.
That happens. That happens. So they promote you when you have good ratings, when you
Okay.
have a high number of students enrolled. And in general, if they can see, there are ways for them to measure how often you're updating a course,
Okay.
how often you're being
See.
responsive with students, right? If you're being a good teacher in that sense.
Yeah.
So they promote you when you're good at all that. They have ways of highlighting your course up in the. It's almost like if it was a search engine, right? So when you're on Google and you type and you look for something, certain results they come up. Well, why are they there? They are there because in Google's thought, they are the best results for that search. On Udemy or other course marketplaces, the exact same logic. So, if my course is the first one for that keyword, it's because the marketplace
Yeah.
considers my course as the best answer to that need. There are ways of measuring that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's usually the same answer. It's like we're gonna have like if you put more effort in and you're more committed and
Yeah.
you work hard, you're gonna get better results than if you just try to do it one and done
Yeah.
and fingers crossed.
Exactly. It
Right.
takes time to build that as well.
Yeah,
So
of course it does. That makes total sense. Yeah, of
yeah.
course. But so sometimes when I see videos on Instagram about course creation and these things, yeah, I worry that people are overselling it, or they're trying to make it seem like it's too perfect. So it's nice, like it's refreshing for you to say, like, yeah, like you know, you have to be a good teacher, you have to
Mhm.
invest time in it, you have to look after the students,
Yeah.
you have to update it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, because if they're just selling that, oh, that this is just going to solve all your money problems and it's easy, and well, you know, I always wonder, oh, why are they selling it so hard?
Right. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a job in itself,
So
right?
it's a
So
job
it's
too, right?
it's really that work of keeping it alive and keeping it updated
And
and that
engaging,
fresh content and engaging as well.
right?
With AI nowadays, it's becoming easier to do that actually, because when you're updating a course, there's a lot you can use AI for,
Mm.
in terms of editing scripts and even for video editing. I was amazed to find an AI video editing tool last week, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
The
That's so
magic,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
Do you worry? Do you worry about AI taking over some of the course creation?
I have so many conversations about this that you have no
Really?
idea, and everybody's like in a completely different thought process. So in my head, AI is here to automate certain things that we do that take a lot of time,
Mhm.
repetitive tasks, or anything that is too much. For example, when you're creating a course, you do spend a lot of time creating scripts, right? And editing videos and things that are sort of repetitive and manual, right? So AI is here to, in a certain way, replace that. But I am confident that students are still going to see the value in interacting and learning something from a real human. Though, we already see courses being created by AI. It's a different feeling,
Yeah.
right? It's a different feeling. It's not a human kind of
Yeah.
teaching that topic. So, but that's what I keep. These are the probably the opinion that I keep hearing the most among course creators. There is still going to be a demand for premium human-made courses.
Yeah, yeah, human made. It'd be a different
Human-made
genre.
with a badge.
Yeah, different genre.
Human-made. Yeah.
Stamp, yeah, human made. I was like, oh, great, that's premium. I
I
want to go
know,
for
I
that.
know.
How did you find going on camera the first couple of times?
Oh my God, I was so embarrassed. And I kept like saying, I'm sorry for my English grammar mistakes. And
Your English is perfect.
no,
So,
thank you. I don't, I'm very aware of my accent, of course, and I make grammar mistakes like everybody else who speaks English as their second language. But I was very embarrassed.
mhm,
And it took me some time to realize that what you talk about matters more than anything else, right?
mhm.
So the content and how you're presenting it matters a lot, and people are so able to forget about grammar mistakes as long as you're passionate about the thing that you're delivering and that you're an expert in the topic. So it took me time to get used to that, but yeah, it's getting better. I'm still sometimes like very shy, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But you kind of get more and more used to it the more you do it, right? It becomes
Yeah,
more, I don't know, mechanical or more.
it does for sure. So with the screen share courses that I have, in the beginning I would repeat the exact same video like
Mhm,
20 times
mhm,
because I said something wrong or because I misspelled a word or this. And then at one point, I'm like, why am I doing this? Why
mhm.
am I spending so much time in the exact same video when I could have been recording two courses by now? So
Yeah.
I stopped worrying so much about the small things. And I'm confident that people see that, the value in that. And so I kind of, I wouldn't say stop caring. Of course, I'm always trying to improve myself, but in a certain way, I'm not holding myself too much from these things, right? Like, oh my God, I'm making grammar mistakes, or I might be saying something that doesn't make sense. I'm translating something in my head from Portuguese to English, and it doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
But
yeah.
whatever. So yeah, it's really not what matters the most. That's
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The content and the messages are the most important thing, and I think we're very forgiving with those sort of things, right? Because we see it all the time. We could just kind of go, oh yeah, that probably wasn't perfect, but you just look past it because you just really focus on, well, what do I want to get out of this? I'm trying to solve
Exactly.
my problem,
Yeah.
not figure out if this is the most perfect production of something ever
Yeah.
seen, right?
For sure.
So could I ask you, I'm really interested, like, let's say somebody is feeling very inspired by thinking online course creation. That sounds like a lovely job, remote work, scalable,
Yeah.
autonomous,
Hmm.
right? Ticks lots of those sort of boxes.
Yeah.
But they're wondering, like, what does a day in the life look like? So, uh, now, of course, like, every day is slightly different and so
Yeah.
on. But like, generally speaking, what does your day look like? Are you on video all day? Are you writing?
You know what the funniest thing about it? 10% of my time is actually recording it, and all the rest is just planning for it or doing the post production.
Okay.
So there is a lot involved in planning what you're going to say, of course. It really depends on what you're talking about. So, for example, if I'm creating a course on HubSpot, I just turn on the camera and start talking because I'm so familiar with that platform that I can talk about it with my eyes closed. But that's one topic. Now, if I talk about other things or if the style of the video is different, where it's a talking head thing, so I have to create a script, I have to edit the script, I have to ask ChatGPT if there is any grammar mistakes,
Mm.
and then upload to the teleprompter. And so there is a lot involved in the process of getting ready for a course. I would say that most of my time is spent either planning or post producing a course, publishing, editing, something like that. Um, so a typical day would be like, I wake up in the morning, have my coffee, and I start looking at the tasks for the day. Either is a filming day, so I need to get my living room ready,
Okay. Okay.
the exact same way you did here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so get ready for that. Or if it's a planning day, I just sit down and start working on that. It's parts of it they take a long time, such as creating scripts, for example. It's
Mhm.
it's something that takes a lot of time, or editing a script. But yeah, those there are big sort of chunks of tasks that you have to do as a course creator. But then with time, you start getting more efficient at that as
And then
well.
social media as well. Like, is that one of your marketing tasks? Like, are you active there, or does the marketplace solve that?
The marketplace solves that until a certain point. I started using LinkedIn and YouTube more
Mhm.
recently, and I do have a small YouTube channel. I'm planning to take it more seriously this year. YouTube takes a lot of time. It's not the type of place where you're just gonna like upload any types of videos and it will be fine. So it does take time to create something nice and publish there. So I'm both on YouTube and LinkedIn, and I'm trying to be more consistent at posting. But of course, doing everything by myself and also doing a little bit of client work on the side, I really have to be mindful about how I use my time. So
Mhm.
I'm not so active on social media, but I am there and I try to be more consistent about it
Okay.
as well.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. Well, I guess it's really just wondering whether that needs to be a key part of your client funnel, or whether or not, that's just something you build up sequentially. So it's interesting that it's actually not 100% core at the moment.
For sure. And then that's the difference between leveraging marketplaces or self-hosted courses.
Yeah.
So when you do your own marketing, then yes, you have to be out there on social media or ads or,
Mm-hmm.
these channels. But when a marketplace is a discovery and awareness channel for you, then most of your audience is already coming from there. And so very often what happens is that I'll have someone taking my course on Udemy and reaching out to me for client work.
Yeah.
So it is a lead generation tool in that aspect. People come to you, they see your course, they like what you do, and they go to you after.
And they
So
want you to do it, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
an
it's
entry
interesting
point.
because it's also not like that you've given all your information away and now people don't need you anymore. Sometimes they're just like, oh, and now I want you to do, I know you can do it. Now I
Yeah.
want you to do it, right?
And it's actually the opposite. So the most interesting thing about this whole experience was very often someone who takes my course, they take the course, they do the assignments and everything, but they are still not at that point where
Mm,
they're like, okay, I'm ready, I don't need anything else. It's actually the opposite. When they take the course, that's when they start learning that they have so much to learn,
mm,
and they reach out because maybe they need some coaching or consulting work or other courses. Or so it's interesting when I look at my course financial reports, I can see that typically one person that bought two courses, they bought like all the courses. Two or more, they bought pretty much all my courses. And I'll have people that only bought one, but then you have people that just buy everything once they like you, like your work, and trust. It's a very interesting phenomenon, and I wasn't expecting that when I started.
Wow,
It's
interesting.
it's
That sounds
interesting.
like you got some super fans.
Yeah, it's I like to think that,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think, you start building a community, and you start building a community of people that trust your work, trust your expertise. And once you have that trust,
Mm,
then it's quite easy for you to leverage that for other things.
yeah.
And I think it's the same as, when you go freelance, for example, when you have someone's trust, it's much easier for you to get that client to upgrade to a more expensive package or another service or whatnot. So it's really that first foot on the door, and then once you have that, the other things are easier to accomplish, I think.
When you
Yeah.
talk to your friends about this, do they ever want to do it, or do they ever feel there's anything stopping them from doing it? Like there's any fears that you come across when people think about doing what you do? Um,
For sure. So for courses, the one thing that I hear the most is, oh, but I'm not an expert enough in the topic to teach this.
this is what I didn't want to ask you that directly, but that's why, right?
Yeah,
Because
it's the
people
thing.
feel like I don't have anything to teach,
Yeah.
or I'm not an expert,
Yeah.
right?
So people think that, and of course, there is a great importance into education, formal education, right? A master
Yeah,
degree
yeah.
and whatnot. But um, when it comes to online courses, you don't have to be the world's most renowned expert in that thing. You just have to be one step ahead.
Mm,
So I am not the world most, HubSpot expert. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff about HubSpot that I don't know, but I am one step ahead of someone who signed up today and doesn't know how to use it. So
mm,
it's really that mindset of, okay, I know a little bit more than this person. I can help them in that journey. And then by helping them, I will take the next step and I will know more, and then I can help more people. And then it's a cycle. So you don't have to be, my God, an expert to be able to put a good online course out there. You just have to be passionate about it and definitely have expertise in that. But yeah, we're not talking about, you don't need a PhD
yeah,
to create
yeah,
an online
yeah,
course.
yeah.
And, you know,
No, I love it. I love it. That's something I talk to people all the time about because they feel like they need to be an expert to get a new job or an
Yeah.
expert to work for themselves. And I say, well, you definitely need to be skilled,
Yeah.
and you need to have something to offer, but the expertise is usually not necessary. Or the other thing to do is to do what you did, is niche down
Yeah.
into a super finite item,
Mhm.
and then just learn as much about that as possible.
For sure. It's a great way of, I think, if you're really putting all that obstacles in front of you, you don't do anything. And
Mm,
so that's the thing about thinking that you have to be an expert so that you can get a new job, so that you can go freelance, so that you can launch a course. Just don't do that, right?
Yeah.
Leverage your strengths and have patience with this transition process, but put yourself out there. You know much more than you think you do.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
If this Thalita in this chair today heard herself 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, how do you think the difference would be? Right, because you're this online course creator, you're on camera, you're selling stuff, you're what do you think? Do you think she would recognize her, or
She would be like, wow, she's so self-confident. Like a few years ago, I really lacked this thing that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
This was exactly me a few years ago, thinking that I need to be more of an expert to go freelance. I need to be more an expert to maybe have my own business or something.
Yeah.
But that from how did I go from this A to B? And I'm not saying, I'm oh my God, super self-confident or
No,
anything,
of course
but
not.
I'm working on that, improving. But I got to a better place now. This Thalita, she would have been thinking, oh my God, wow, she's so, optimistic about everything and
Yeah.
self-confident. And how do I get there? And well, you get there through the process in itself, right? By having patience with yourself and knowing that everything you go through, it's normal. It happened to somebody else. And it's good to be able to count on support if you have that as well. Mentors or, support of some sort. But yeah, it's she would be like, who is this girl?
Yeah. No, that's what I really want to connect with also, because I think people listening or watching might think like, oh, that's fine for Thalita, but for me, like, I don't feel confident. I
Yeah.
don't like video, which is all the questions I'm asking you. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily feel confident. I don't like the idea of going on video. I don't think
Yeah.
I've got anything to offer. I don't know if I'll be able to get a stable income. These are the typical kind of objections or concerns or
Yeah.
worries, which are legitimate, right? Of course.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting to, reflecting back on where you've come from, that, you've kind of dealt with those one by one and not overnight.
Not overnight. It takes time. And well, one thing you just mentioned about, so challenges, right? The main thing that people think about is financial.
Right.
So, right, when I'm going to go from full time to freelancing, or in my case, went from freelance to course creator, there is a gap there. So there is a period where you might be dealing with, less income that you were initially expecting. It's a process. It doesn't last forever. Things start working by themselves, but there are ways for you to prepare for that as well. So one thing I would say, if you're thinking about doing maybe a transition like this or starting with online courses, you can maybe plan yourself for this change. You can, plan some sort of savings, or in my case, I did a lot of freelance work at that point as well. So I had that safety net.
Or
sort
do you
of thing.
think you could do it like, let's say 3, 4, 5 hours a week? You could actually build one course while working full time if you were trying to exit a job?
Yes, I think so.
Or is that a big ask? Is that a big challenge to do that simultaneously?
No. So, and that's why I'm thinking so much about marketplaces. So on marketplaces, actually, those courses that perform the best are typically courses that are really good and really short. So it's not that you need so much time to go ahead and record and put something out there. You just need to get prepared for that, plan ahead, and start working on it. But it's not really that thing of, oh my God, I'm going to spend 1 month just recording. It's really not this.
Yeah.
It's not the amount of or the volume of content. It's just it's more about the quality of it. So for sure, you can get something really good out there working 3 or 4 hours a week on the project. Just maybe the first one, have some patience with yourself. It's going to take a while for you to get it done. It's going to take a while to publish. You're going to have to deal with unexpected tech challenges and things that you don't know about. But second one will be much easier. Third one will be much easier. And then just go from there.
How was the first sale?
The first sale.
How did you feel when
The
you saw
first
that
course
first?
sale.
Yeah.
I had a special dinner.
But it's because it
Um,
kind of changes. It makes a new belief.
It's a
Because
new
you
belief.
go from,
Yeah.
well, I hope this works. I don't know if it works. Maybe this is just a dream.
Yeah.
And then you get the first sale.
And then you're like, someone is out there paying for something that I created. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it was an amazing feeling. But once you get to that, I think I'm always a fan of this thought that, the most difficult step is really the first. Once
Mm.
you get that first thing nailed down, you can do the rest. And that first sale is going to take a while, but it will happen.
Yeah.
The first freelance gig will take a while, but it will happen. And then the second will be much easier. Third will be much easier. Fourth, much easier,
And
and
then
so on.
because then you momentum, right?
Then you
You're
get
moving
momentum.
forward.
Yeah.
You're building your client list and your email list and those sort of things, right?
Yeah. And then you start getting better at it. Yeah.
So can you tell me, did you do a course on how to sell courses or how to make and sell courses?
Yes, I did. So I didn't really know much about the tech aspect of the thing. But even though be, I actually started creating my first course before, doing this course on courses. And I remember that at the time I had this really small tripod, and I put it in my desk. And because the tripod was too short, it wasn't really like on the same kind of
Eye
height of
level
my,
or
my head. And I realized that I needed to put it a little bit up. So I used a pan from the kitchen. And at one point I looked at it and I said, I don't think I should be using like kitchen utensils to record an online course. So I went ahead and I started, looking into how to record stuff at home. And there's a lot out there about it. You can find stuff, of course, on an amateur level. You can find some stuff on Amazon that will be more than fine for the first one. And yeah, I did a course on that. And that's where I learned a little bit on lighting and microphone and how to use a camera the proper way and stuff like that. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, even if you're able to do something small just with your phone, a good mic and good lighting, which can be even a window depending on the day or where you live, of course, it's fine for for the
that's the
beginning.
thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The boundaries or the obstacles are so low these days because most people have a smartphone that's got incredibly good
Incredibly.
video,
Hmm.
pretty good or very good microphone, and then just like putting yourself in front of a window, you're going to get like fantastic light
For sure.
for free. So like the limitations are very low, right?
Yeah.
Can I ask you? So we don't want everything to sound like it's easy and it's perfect and there's
Yeah.
no challenge or there's no struggle.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
there anything that's just like it's just difficult, and that when people are going, because we want people to go into things and to if they're going to embark on this sort of journey or take on doing a course, we want them to go in with their eyes open, that they understand the challenges
Yeah.
that are there. And I think you said something really useful earlier, which was, look, it takes time. You have to be patient. I think that's good advice in general.
Yeah.
I like to talk about planting seeds before you see the flowers,
Yeah.
or before you get the veggies. And what do you think is something people should know before they embark on starting courses or trying to sell and market courses?
Yeah. Well, this will be one of the things actually. So really that process takes time. You have to have patience with yourself. You need time to figure out how things work, the tech part of it, how to create a course, how to communicate with students. It's more than normal. Now, being a course creator is a little bit of a lonely job as well. So you're by yourself, recording, uploading, and sending emails to students, but you don't really have that office vibe of kind
Mm,
of exchanging ideas with a coworker. So it's very useful to have someone to support you.
yeah.
There are ways you can do this. For example, um, you can join meetups on creating content, or creating courses. You can join virtual groups on the topic. There are many Facebook groups and groups on Slack and other platforms about that. There are webinars on the topic. So there are people that you can reach out to for support, for some guidance. So that's good. It's a really good thing to have. I feel that I didn't really go kind of after this too much, but I should have. Looking back, I should have looked for some support somewhere. I know that, of course, we were in the middle of COVID, so it was difficult in any way, but
Even
still,
if you tried, it still would have
even if you
been.
tried, I know
It would have been another group to join online or another Zoom call
I
to
know,
log into.
yeah,
But I think so. I think that is a great point. But getting a supportive community or
yeah.
group, or and even not even just for technical things, but also for camaraderie as well. It can be
Yeah.
nice, right?
It's good to exchange ideas on things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I meet up with course instructors here in Lisbon, and I learn things, and they tell me things that they are doing, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even think about that.
Mm.
How is that possible? And we're doing the exact same thing, right? So you need a little bit of that interaction of bouncing back ideas. I guess the other challenge that I would mention is also the financial aspect. So it takes time to build stable and consistent course income.
Mm.
It's not going to be out of the blue. Sometimes I see these Facebook ads, how to, sell a 6 figures course in your first month or something. And I'm like, how? I mean, it's really, some people are selling solutions when the problem is a little bit different. So the process of making stable income with a course takes time,
Mm.
and that's because people still don't know too much about you. You're just getting
Mm.
started. You need to get their trust. But once you, again, going back to that same topic, once you get your foot on the door and you start selling, then sales start coming in a more
Mm.
consistent way. I'm
Mm.
talking more about marketplaces where you publish your first course, and it's not going to be your salary, right? So you still have to have that income coming from somewhere else. But with time, with consistency, with discipline, you start building a really nice stable income that is always it almost sounds like the dream, which is passive income. So you're sleeping and you're making sales at the same time, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
Which is amazing,
Which
right?
is cool. Yeah.
But also when people like what they get, then they follow on the journey with other courses that you create. So do you see yourself continuing to make courses, or like where do you go from here? What are your plans for the future?
Yeah, my
Big
plans.
question.
My goal is really to have a business out of it. So, but
Yep.
right now I'm doing everything by myself.
Right.
Filming, editing, creating courses, talking to course platforms, communicating with students. It's the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole.
It's a lot. It's a lot for one
Yep.
person only. My goal is really to have a business where I have someone supporting me with filming, another person supporting me with editing, another person supporting me with student support and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Which is really that way of scaling. I mean, at the end of the day, of course, it's a scalable business, but until a certain limit, because you're one person only, and a day only has 24 hours. But if you have support, if you have someone, helping you with the stuff that, in my case, for example, I'm not great at video editing. I admit that I am not.
Yeah.
I think I learned some basic skills on the internet, but I could be doing a better job.
Yeah.
But if you have that support, you can scale much faster.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But also you can't be doing everything, and it's not a good idea to do everything.
You're not good at everything,
yeah.
right? So why are you? I mean, in the beginning, the reason why is a clear one, which is you're by yourself. So it's fine. But if you are at that point where you have some extra income that allows you to hire someone to help you, it's a much better idea. I think in life we're much better off focusing on our strengths rather than trying to share or split ourselves into multiple workers, right? Everybody trying to do something different.
Yeah.
Almost like if I was
100%.
a different person, right? You can't be good at
You
everything.
can't. 100% agree. I'm so glad you said that, because I think that's one of the things that people, when they're starting off working for themselves, because it's a mistake I made. I think for probably at the start, you need to do everything, but then after a while, you have to say, okay, now's the time to start letting go of some stuff and bringing in other people.
Yeah.
And I think there's almost a lot of stuff sold online as you can do this yourself.
Mhm.
Like, here's a website, you can build this yourself, and here's this thing, you can do this yourself. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but should you? I think is a good question to ask, right?
Exactly.
And maybe the answer is at the start, yeah, and
Mhm.
then after a while, no. And knowing when to move on and take some of the money earned and reinvest it and get other people to help you. Otherwise, you're trying to be all things to all people.
And then you get to do this thing, the stuff you like. So I like to be the one presenting the course, teaching, and so I don't want to be the person doing video editing anyway. And
Yeah.
so you get to do more of what you like by having someone helping you with the other stuff you don't like.
How do you
So-
feel about the idea of handing over your precious content to someone else to edit and to, because this is one of the things we struggle with as self-employed people, right? We know everything, or we think we do, and we kind of know the way we think everything should be set up and aligned.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a struggle. So I'm interested how you how you think about it.
Yeah. I read a really good book a few weeks ago, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
And in one aspect, in one chapter of the book, he's talking about how sometimes you can just fall into this trap of micromanaging, right? And like, this is what I want you to do. Especially, for example, when hiring someone, you can go, oh my God, I want you to do this, and this way. And this is exactly how it has to be done. And there's no other way, right? Now, you're much better off communicating the desired outcome rather than the how-tos.
Mhm.
So as long as the person you're hiring, I think knows what you're trying to achieve, you're both doing the best, right? Because
Yep.
they are doing what they're good at, you're doing what you're good at, but you're not micromanaging them and like, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong. So for me, it is still a struggle because very often I will, hire freelancers to help me with stuff that I have here and there. I hired someone recently to help me with video editing as well, and I find myself having to control this aspect of like, don't micromanage. They are an expert in that thing. They know more than you. What are you even telling them? Like,
Yeah, that's why you're paying them.
I know exactly, but it's so difficult because you're the one doing everything before,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
it's a hard
I
process.
feel you. I feel you. I had that as well. And then at some point, the guy came back to me and he produced something I didn't ask, and I was like, oh, that's way better than I thought.
I know.
And he
Very often.
just
Yeah.
took it to a whole different level, and I was like, okay, yeah, okay, now I get the hiring thing a little bit more. And
Exactly.
when you outsource it, then it's like, what do you want me? So they kind of say, what do you want me to do? And then you kind of explain it, like you said. I think that's a good way. The result as best you can. And then after a while, it's like, well, now you tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Because you need to tell me what you need from me.
Yeah.
And you hand the expertise over to them.
Yeah.
In that respect, I think about it kind of like ordering coffee. You
Mhm.
kind of say what you want to the barista, and after that, you let
They'll
them
do their magic.
you let them do the coffee. And if we can't, if we can't let go of some things, then what do we do? Everything? Do we
Yeah.
clean? Do we put the bins out? Do we make the coffee? Do we, at some point you have to say, well, no, I'm not going to do every single
Not
thing.
everything,
And then
Yeah.
kind of get good at hiring. But it's a skill as well.
It's a skill, and yeah, working with people is a skill, especially when you've been working by yourself for so long.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're used to being in your own cave. Like, I know what I'm
Yeah.
doing here,
But now
and
you're,
then,
but now you're the boss.
yeah, it's a daily struggle, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's a daily struggle, and but I realized more and more than there will be short term, there will be a need for me to get people to help me with stuff, because it's getting to the point where I have demand coming from marketplaces, and I am not able to fulfill everything because I am one person only. So yeah, it's probably a transition I'll be doing soon as well.
Okay.
Another one.
This sounds like the moment. This sounds like the fork in the road where you start to get more help from other people.
Yeah, I think so.
I really need to ask: are you going to make a course on how to make? I feel this is the intro to how to make a course on
So
making
check out my
courses.
course on
Yeah.
how to make a
buy,
course.
buy my course.
Maybe I don't know if I'm enough of
Have
an
you-
expert.
Yeah. Right there we go. Right back
I'm
to that.
kidding.
Have
But
you
yeah.
flirted with the idea of putting all this insights? Because it's not just the technical side of it; it's
Yeah.
also the way of thinking about it. Those fears we talked about earlier. I think they're super valuable to say. Like,
Yeah.
I know you might think that you need to be an expert. Turns out you don't. And,
Yeah.
and you just need to be knowledgeable on something to solve someone else's problem.
That's something to think about.
Mm.
I thought about it already. Right now, I am focused on these courses that I want to create to fulfill this demand for marketing automation for HubSpot and stuff that, it's out there and people are like asking me to do. But there's another side of me that wants to talk more about these other things that we were talking
Yeah,
about just
sure.
now, like, getting into course creation and content creation and selling your services and stuff like that. So there is a world where I'll have a course on courses.
Yeah. It's somewhere down the line.
That would be fun. That would be fun. Maybe
Yeah.
there's something to share there. Yeah.
Fantastic. So just to wrap up, do you think there's anything else we haven't covered? Any key topics or any key ideas that you think people should know about the world of online course creation?
Online course creation. I think, before coming here, I wrote down a few thoughts on a checklist. And probably if I look at that note now, I'll be like, I think I went through everything. But I'll still repeat that thing of, if you are getting into this, be patient with yourself. Results come. It takes time. There will be a transition phase that will be a little bit difficult, but it doesn't last forever. And find support however you can around you, and try to, of course, kind of protect yourself from this huge gap of that might be, in terms of finance or other aspects even. So protect yourself, have some savings here and there. Don't. I am a little bit against the idea of just simply throwing yourself into it and abandoning all the rest. I think you can do a slow transition in a more secure way, especially if you have people depending on your income, like if you are children and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I don't have children. I don't have anyone directly depending on my income. So I felt sort of comfortable going for this. a little bit of an impulsive way, but I still went through the process of having a savings account and protecting myself financially. So
Super important.
work on a slower transition rather than just try to throw yourself into
Yeah.
it, and be patient with the
Yeah.
process of
Because
transition.
if it allows you to sustain your efforts longer and to
Yeah,
learn and to make mistakes and to
yeah,
improve,
yeah,
then that's going to be, you're going to have a better chance the longer you can survive and keep going. You have a better chance of staying in the game for longer rather
for
than
sure.
I've got 6 months to make this happen. And if I don't get to
Yeah,
my salary in 6 months, then I'm totally out. So I think that's really good, wise
yeah.
advice.
I think it's a good way of going about this. There's another excellent book that I read some time ago. The name of the book is funny, but it's an excellent book. It's called How to Find Fulfilling Work. I think it's from the School of Life, and basically talks about seeing this in a different way. So it's not like if so when you're getting into online courses, right? Where is that other income coming from? Freelance work or full time job, it doesn't matter. It's coming from somewhere. So rather than seeing this from the lens of, oh, I'm still not making my full time income from courses, I still depend on, my full time job, see it as a way as you're sponsoring yourself. Almost like, how in the Middle Ages you'd have people sponsoring artists, right? And
Mm,
painters and so on. You're sponsoring yourself. You're your own sponsor,
yeah.
really. You're enabling your art, so to
Yeah.
say. And you're doing this by keeping your full-time job or going freelance or finding other sources of income while you get to that point where you can do this full-time.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, another tip there.
Fantastic. No, I absolutely love it. Well, Thalita, thanks so much for sharing all your insights about the wonderful world of online course creation. You've
Yeah.
definitely given insights to both myself and Pedro, our videographer here today. We really
Amazing.
appreciate it. And I think people listening to this are going to be like, I didn't even know this was a job.
Whole
And
thing.
now
Yeah.
we've got like a window into that lifestyle and that career. So that's fantastic. Thanks
Yeah,
so
of
much.
course. Thank you so much for the invite. I hope this, yeah, was valuable to your audience. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Hi, folks. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this interview, please click the like button. And if you'd like to see more of these soon, please subscribe and support the channel. Thanks so much.